Sandra, did you move?
What was that?
She changed her background and I was just making a joke about.
Oh my God. Yeah, just wait until tomorrow.
All right, so let's see. I think we left off at 58. Hold on, let's see.
Yeah, string formatting.
Yeah, 58. Okay. So, Sandra, can you read from your new house, please?
Just wait until tomorrow. Okay, string formatting. So far, to combine strings and non-strings, you're converted the non-string to string and added them. String formatting provides a more powerful way to embed non-string with strings. String formatting uses a string format method to substitute a number of arguments in the string. Example, each argument of the format function is placed in the string at the corresponding position, which is determined using the curly braces, brackets, whatever.
So you've seen this a lot already with your resume page, where anytime we want to insert something into the string, we use the dot format. Well, this is the way they're showing you is a different way of doing it, where you put 0, 1, and 2, and then the 1 in the 0 spot is that, and then the 1 in the 1 spot, and like doesn't have to be like this nums thing. It could be like whatever, like 1, 2, 3, right? And that's with doing the 0, 1, 2. The way I usually do it is I use the keyword arguments. So like instead just do like I don't know, 1 equals, or sorry, 1, 2, 3, and then do 1 equals 1, 2 equals 2, 3 equals 3. That's the way you've seen it. But you can also do this 0, 1, 2 method. Any questions on that? Does that make sense to everybody?
So you
Okay.
don't necessarily have to do the numbers. So if you have the 1, 2, 3 in the front, you also have the format 1, 2, 3 written out.
No, sorry. I guess using those were a bad example. Like it could be like name, and this could be like name, like whatever variable name you give it, like name equals Brandon, right? So whatever variable name you give it in here, you just do like the variable name equals and then the value.
Okay.
And that's the way you've seen me do the dot format, is that way by assigning the actual variable name in there as opposed to just doing 0. I don't even think you can do a combination, but let's see. No, I guess you can. So you could do 0 and then variable names like here. So all right, it'll still work. All right, moving on. Go ahead, answer the next question. Okay, what is the result of this code?
Brandon, you're gonna have to help me out with this one. I have no idea how they got that.
Oh, okay. So the 0 is what was in the first part, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um the first one, it's just like, it's just as if this was a list, right? So this is
Mhm.
list item 0, this is list item 1. Well, in here they put list item 0, which is ABRA, so ABRA, and then list item 1, so CDA, but then they put 0 again, so it's then gonna do ABRA again. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
okay. That makes perfect sense. Sorry, I was misunderstanding the whole thing.
Yeah, no worries. Well, here, let me go back to this one. So, like, with this, like, okay, let's do name equals Brandon, right? You can put name in multiple spots in the string, and whatever variable name or what
Whatever number it's assigned would show that specific
did
name.
I mistype? Oh, it's because we've got extra stuff here. Hold on. Yeah, whatever you have in still extra. Hold on.
So in theory, you could put the word name in every one of those curly brackets, and then whatever you
Yeah.
called number wise, as far as the sequence it's in, would just return a list of the word name.
Yeah, and like name, and then we could say like last equals Wagner, right? Or sorry. And just like wherever you
0,
wherever
1.
you put it in the string, it's gonna put, that uh the value that's in that variable for name,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So David, can you read this one?
Sure. String formatting can also be done with named arguments. Example. Run the code to see how it works.
And this is what I've been talking about with the named arguments, like with the whatever equals that, right? So we kind of already went over this. All right, go ahead and do the practice one and raise your hand when you're done.
Crap. What did I do?
And please don't use the C solution too. If you're able to, or if you're having trouble or whatever, we'll walk you through it. But just seeing the solution doesn't help you.
Format strings.
Okay. So a lot of you are done with this one. So Tim, can you share your screen?
Yes. I was very confused because I was gonna use this for, I tried using this. Wow, man, I copied the wrong thing. Anyway, the question asks about the name and the age, and name is age years old. I kind of couldn't help it. I looked at the solution, I could use the solution, but I tried using this one, the one over here, the one that's in the Sololearn, the one previous, A to the X, comma, Y format, and I tried switching around with the name and the age, and I couldn't figure it out. So if you have a different way of doing it, you could show us, but this is the way it showed on the solutions for print. 0 is 1 years old. I don't even know how 0 or 1 could come up with 16 or 42 years old. And then the dot format I had because of the formula here, but I'm still pretty confused how this can be the answer. Format
Well,
name.
if you're not understanding it, don't use C solution. Like, go back to it, and if you still don't understand it after rereading it, then just let me know. That's why I'm
Yeah.
here, and I can explain it. So let's close this and then
Okay.
go back. Close that
Those, I leave,
and then hit back
hit back.
and hit back again and hit try it yourself.
Try this out.
So right
Ah,
here, see how, so it's just like I was explaining, it's just like lists, right? So in the dot format part, so it's like 0, 1, 2. So whatever's in the first one is going to be your 0 answer. Whatever's in the second one is going to be your 1 answer. And
like the
whatever's
abracadabra one, right?
what was that?
The abracadabra one, the abracadabra answer.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that. But that one used 0 twice.
Right.
But with this one, so like so delete the nums equals 0.
Nums equals 0.
Or, yeah, or not equal. Yeah, nums 0. Yeah, delete that.
Okay, and the comma,
And just
right?
put some, no, leave the
Okay,
well,
I
you know,
got it.
actually delete all 3 of those, whatever.
Okay.
Because we'll just change them all out. And then put in quotation marks some word or something. Okay. Okay. And then put a comma after
After
the
the
quotes.
quotation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then do some different word in quotes.
Okay.
Because if you don't put it in quotes, then it's thinks it's a variable. But if the variable hasn't been defined, then and then do the same thing for another word in quotes.
Quotes.
Yeah, because if it's in quotes, then it's a string. If it's not, then okay. And so now hit run.
Okay.
And so like in the first where the 0 is, because it's the first one, it's putting the 0, right? Or putting in the 0
That's
spot.
0 right there.
And then now put, so go into the message, into the string message, and click right after the 2, after or inside the message, but right after the 2, but still in the quotes. So
Right after the 2. Okay, but stop to the quotes. Okay.
yeah, and add a space, and then add a curly brackets and a 0, and then hit run. And you see, since that some word or something is in the 0 spot, it added it to wherever you have that 0, right? So it's in
Right.
both the front and at the back there.
Right.
So just whatever you have in the first spot is your 0 spot. The second one's your 1 spot, just like lists, and the third one's your 2 spot, just like in lists, right?
Right.
Inside the dot format. Does it make sense now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Can I ask a quick
Okay.
question though, while we have the screen up?
Uh-huh.
All right, so there was the number portion in the first category, and then it showed number, and then whatever he had written out. What is the actual thing that needs to be besides the number? The word written out number.
What? Hold on, let me do screen share, and then maybe you can. Okay, what were you talking about?
You see right here where line number 3, it says message equals, then in parentheses numbers. So when he ran it and he had all his text right there, it showed numbers, semicolon, and then what he had written, but it started out with the name numbers and then colon. So what is the right thing to put? Because you don't want to have something named numbers and then words and words, do you? Or am I confusing myself?
You're confusing me.
Numbers on there is just what's written to the screen in the string.
Right.
Oh,
but-
right here. Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about?
Yes,
Yeah,
so
that's just the word. Like,
Right, but when you had him type all those words and he ran it, then it
Uh-huh.
says number and then his words, but that doesn't match with what he wrote. That's what's confusing me, because then it says number, colon, and then whatever he had written, so,
oh well, that's just because this is what was here by default, because
right,
we just never deleted the numbers. We could have just changed numbers to words right here, and then it would have said words and then his random words.
okay, so,
But it's just because, so like whatever, so in a string, like when you put you when you put something in quotes, then that's a string, right? A string of the letters or characters or whatever you have, right? So this right here, this is string formatting. So this is a string. So any regular words you write are just going to appear there, just like normal. But then if you do the dot format, since we're doing string formatting, if you then do the 0, 1, 2, then whatever's in the spot 0, 1, 2 is going to get inserted into the string. And you can have other stuff, more words, like, in between those things or whatever, like whatever just regular string thing you type, because it's in the quotes, is still going to appear there. But just you can then insert stuff into it, and it's mostly good for like variables. So like if we have like, I don't know, like a user input or something, and like you want to be able to insert the user's input in there, right? Then nums is, oh yeah, because I deleted that, duh. Right, so like if you've got like a variable that you want to input in there, right, it's a good use for that, right? Or like if you're pulling something from the database, and like let's say this is where I've used it a lot, is like if you're typing up an auto-generated email, right? And so you've got like all your text for your email in there, but then like you want to insert from the database the user's like last name in there, like dear John Smith or whatever, and you're like inserting it in there is like a good example of like when you would do that, and really just use it a lot. I mean, you use this a lot, period. But like just when like you're going to a next screen or whatever, and like the users like type stuff in like a form or whatever, and then you want the stuff that they typed in the form to appear on the screen, right? You'd put your regular HTML and stuff there, like whatever you want to appear, but then you'd use the dot format to add in like whatever stuff they put or whatever, like update for last name has been changed to whatever in the database or something, like, you know what I mean? Does that make sense, or I'm starting to ramble?
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but I'll be okay. Thanks.
Well, no, I don't want you to just be okay. I want you to understand it. If you don't, I'll keep going and do it in a more clear way. Do you understand how this works now?
Yeah.
It sounds like
Just say no, it's cool, because I don't either. It's cool.
Oh, well, good. Then we'll keep going. Okay, so, all right. So let's change this to triple quotes, because I like triple quotes, because then you don't have to worry about other stuff, and you can go, oops, multiple lines. So, okay, so let's say, here's what we'll start with, what I was talking about for the email, right? So if we're writing like dear, and then we want first name to be inserted, and we want last name to be inserted, right? Your account has been created from Brandon Wegner. Right, and we want to insert their first name and last name. So up here, like we've got, all right, let's say we're pulling from the database, right? And so, we're doing like I'm just gonna comment this out, because it's not gonna work because it's not linked to a database. But we did like the basic equals ndb dot gquel select all from basic, where email equals email equals email. Okay, and so like we have their email because they're logged in, right? So we'd retrieve their email through email equals so dot session dot get email, right? Okay, so we've got their email from when they logged in. We retrieve it from the database, and then we get the I probably didn't need to go into all this, but for in basic, tab over, we do first name equals a dot first. Go to the next line. Last name equals a dot last. Okay, so that's how you get the info from out of the database, right? So like when they logged in, we get their email, save that to the page, retrieve it from the database, and save it into variables. Well, now I need to actually create these. So I'm just going to create it. So we've got our variable first name equals John, last name equals Smith. So then to insert it, do first name equals first name and last name equals last name, right? Because so this first name is going to be whatever when we go here and we put first name equals whatever this variable is, right? And in this case, the variable, we've got John, right? And then the last name one is whenever we put last name equals, because whenever you put the equals, the thing to the right, is what you're telling it to equal, right?
I have a question on that, Brandon.
Uh-huh.
If we've defined in line 6 and 7 what the first name and last name are based on the variable name, first name, last name, then why in the format area are we it seems like we're spelling that out again versus just writing first name and last name only because those have already been defined in line 6 and 7.
Well, yes. But that's only because like we're pretending that we're pulling this from the database, right? So the info from we're not just manually typing John Smith, it's whatever's saved in the database is John Smith, right? Based off their email. So that's why we wouldn't like I mean, if we knew it was John Smith, we could skip all this craziness and just put dear John Smith, right? But the problem is this is like a mass email, right? That we're sending to a whole bunch of different people, and it needs to be based off or like whoever the user is that's logged in. It needs, but we don't know that when we're writing the code. Like we're not going to write John Smith for like each
Sure,
like,
sure. No, that
create
makes
a
sense
unique
to me.
page for each person.
That I understand that part. I guess what I'm not understanding is I guess because I don't really know how to word it if I'm not saying it clearly, but basically if we've defined, because we're using variables, first name, last name, and we're pretending there's a database that's pulling it from, in this example, wouldn't we just put those variables in there? We don't need to, I guess I'm not understanding why I'm not understanding why we're defining it twice, or it feels like we're defining it twice.
Well, this one on 6 and 7 is just here to represent what is pulled from the database, right? So the reason we define it twice is, well, okay, I guess technically what you could do is here you could put first name equals a dot first, right? And just get what's pulled from the database. That would save you a step, but generally that's just not how I do it. I generally put it into a variable name so you know what it is and then reference it. Was that kind of what you were getting at?
Not really, but I'm definitely and probably completely misunderstanding the concept. Let me ask you this. Why would we not, and maybe this will help me understand why I'm getting it wrong, but why would we not just put down in the dot format section, or excuse me, in the message section, dear curly bracket first name, curly bracket second name, your account has been created from Brandon Wagner.
Are you saying like instead use the, yes, you could do it this way. You could do like this be 0 and this be 1, like they were teaching in this example, right? And then instead of having to do first name, it would just be first name and last name. So yes, you could do it that way, and then it will run with that. And then you wouldn't have to do the equals equals. The reason I do like first name in here is so that instead of having to look at like, okay, 0, match that up, 1, match that up, making sure it's the right thing and it's like in the right order. Because like, okay, so like let's say we keep adding like, more stuff, right?
Phone numbers, emails, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and you've got like 30 lines, right? Well, shoot, if you miscount with your zeros and ones and you're at like 30 and you put 29, right? It's going to insert something totally different. That's why I usually do it by variable name, where I can just put what the variable is, and then it's clear, straightforward, no question. So like we know that this is going to be the last name, and that's going to be the first name, and so that's why I do it this way as opposed to using the zeros and 1. Does that answer your question?
It does. I'm getting closer. So hypothetically, if we removed line 14 and 15, I mean, except for the quotation marks, obviously we keep those. But if we remove the dot format, first name equals first name, last name equals last name, and we just hit print message based on the message variable and the first name, last name variables, it wouldn't print that.
No. So like if you got rid of this dot, you're saying if we got rid of dot format,
Correct. And we just, because we've defined what the message is and we have variables to account for first name, last name, why wouldn't it just print the message?
because we didn't format them. So it's just going to print it as a string, right? So it's just printing exactly as we typed it because
Okay.
it doesn't know it needs to be formatted. That's why we have dot format. So it knows that inside there, if you, and here's another trick I don't think they're going to tell you. So if you, and you will need this, especially when you're formatting things with JavaScript. So if you actually want to use the curly brackets, if you add an extra curly bracket, it will appear as a curly bracket. So like now we can still do first name equals first name, last name equals last name, right? And then still have your curly brackets appear. So you just add an extra one. That's kind of like, it's kind of like escaping it, except you can't escape it. Well, I don't know. I've never tried escaping a curly bracket. Let's see. Yeah, that doesn't work. So yeah, the only way to insert curly brackets into a formatted string is to add an extra set of curly brackets outside it. But I think I kind of got sidetracked. Sorry, what was your question?
No, I'm starting to understand it. I think the reason why I'm confused is because in the past, the assignments or the questions that we had at a more basic level would have us print part of a string in quotations, and then it would say plus a variable, and then
Right.
the rest of the string would be in quotations. And that's what I was thinking. That's where my head was, I think, when I started this. I didn't understand why we were doing the dot format in this example. Not that I didn't, I just was trying to wrap my head around the why behind it, and versus
Yeah,
just
and the
printing quotes and variables.
right, and the why is to make it easier. So like like you can just like I'm like with this email example, right? We're typing out a full email and then just like inserting first name, last name, and then somewhere in there maybe your balance due is whatever, or your whatever unique
Sure,
information
whatever
you have
dynamic entry you
there.
need. Yeah.
Yeah, you're inserting into that spot as opposed to having to like do like print dear plus first name plus space.
That's
plus-
what I was thinking in my head, but I was clearly wrong.
Yeah, last name plus comma, and then your, okay, like, yes, you could do that. It's just harder.
For sure. Yeah, that makes sense. It makes a lot more sense actually.
And then the other reason it's harder is because if you are using first name and last name multiple times, then you're gonna have to keep typing first name. Well, I guess you have to type it anyway. But anyway, like you can just do equals first name once, and then like you could use first name like 10 times throughout the thing or whatever. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And in fact, as we're going over this, I can think of examples in my head where I received like a marketing email from a company. Maybe I got on their email list and didn't put part of my name in. And I've seen in the emails where it'll say like, hey, curly brackets name. And it, and then it goes to the email.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Okay, cool.
So,
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody?
Sorry, Sandra.
Sandra, does that make sense to you now?
Good now.
What?
I'm good now. Mike took it for the team.
Okay, cool. All right. So,
If I could mention one more thing, part of the reason to use the dot format method is if you're using the concat to just add all the variables together, you can't combine a string and an integer type variable. So then you would have to actually convert each variable to a string. And then if you're trying to apply any sort of a math function or method later on, you would again have to reconvert it back to an integer. So
Yeah.
this just stops you from having to do that back and forth.
That makes sense why when I was trying to do it the difficult way Brandon was talking about, I kept getting an error in the problems talking about integers, it couldn't be in
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah, you
that
have to
helps.
convert it to a string. Yeah. So, yeah, good point. Thanks, Kevin. All right. So moving on. Did we do this already? Yeah, I think we did. Oh, yeah, we did. Okay. Oh wait, I didn't think we did this last one though.
Can somebody paste the answer to the question in the chat here so I can move forward, or I can just read? I can take my time and work through it here.
Here, I'll show it real quick. So, okay, I didn't use their 0 thing. I did it my way, but you could also have this be 0 and have this be 1, and then get rid of that.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah. So,
And thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
and then this one, what is the result of this code? String A, B, or CBA. Well, A is 5, so here is 5. Or actually, let's look at it the other way. C is 7, and then B is 9, and A is 5. So it's whatever order you put it in the string. Okay. Mike, can you read this one?
Yeah. If I'm not on mute, no, I'm not. All right.
No, you're not.
String functions. Python contains many useful built-in functions and methods to accomplish a common task. Join joins a list of strings with another string as a separator. Replace replaces one substring in a string with another. Starts with and ends with determine if there is a substring at the start and end of a string respectively. To change the case of a string, you can use lower and upper. The method split is the opposite of join, turning a string with a certain separator into a list, along with some examples here, and run the code, see how it works.
Yeah, so this one you will use a ton, well, upper and lower. You'll use the ton just because like when you get user input, you always want to make it, well, at least, okay, with a regular SQL database, you don't have to do this, but with a NoSQL database, which is what we use, it is case sensitive. And so when you're inputting anything into the database that's user info, you either want to make it all lowercase or make it all uppercase. Generally, I do it uppercase just because it looks better printed all uppercase. But then anytime like you want to like compare the email, right? So like email equals email, right? Then you're gonna have to make the email that the user typed all uppercase. So you use like dot uppercase a lot. And these other ones, I mean, replace is useful for sure. Join sometimes, and split not often, but so any questions on how all this works?
When would you use split?
Okay, a good example of using split is for when you get a comma separated, a CSV file, comma separated values file. You've heard of those, right?
Yes.
Okay. Like if you get a CSV file, then you could use split to separate your CSV file so that you could then use each value, and you'd iterate it over it, of course, with like a loop. But then, yeah, so that's, I think that's the only time I've ever used split. Yeah. That I can think of, at least.
So it's not very common then to use.
No, but upper and lower for sure. And starts with and ends with. Generally, if I'm going to do something like that, I would use regular expressions, but yeah, sure, you could do it this way. But we'll get into regular expressions later. Regular expressions, there's a whole section on it. It's what you use to basically parse through data to like look through a string to find if like something matches or whatnot. Well, there's match and all sorts. Well, anyway, we'll cover that later. But yes, you could also use this starts with ends with. I just never do. Any questions on all that before we move on? Okay, go ahead and answer the next question. Okay, fill in the blanks to turn the string uppercase, dot upper, and then with your parentheses at the end, because you're calling that function. Kevin, can you read this one?
Numeric functions. To find the maximum or minimum of some numbers or a list, you can use the max or min. To find the distance of a number from 0 or its absolute value, use ABS. To round a number to a certain number of decimal places, use round. And to find the total of a list, use sum.
So, yeah, this is kind of some math stuff. But like, yeah, the max to find the biggest one could be useful, and I guess the min too. Like if you're trying to think of a good example for max and min.
When I ran this code, the max it gave was on line 2 was 9.
Yeah, because that's the biggest number.
Oh, I didn't see it in the list. My bad. Sorry. I was wondering where it came from.
Oh, no worries.
All right, guys, I'm gonna shut up for the day. That's my final.
No,
question.
no, no. I like when you ask questions because it helps other people who aren't willing to ask questions. So keep asking. So an absolute value, that's just like your number to 0. So whether it's positive or negative, and some just adding up. I can't think of a good example for max or min. I'm sure there'd be times. I'm picturing it, but I can't put words to it. Yeah, any questions on any of these? Nope. Okay. Go ahead, answer the next question. Well, I guess max and min could be useful. Like if for max, if like you're trying to figure out, or and min, the not like the average or whatever. If you're doing some sort of like math thing or whatever, and like you're adding values into the list, and then you want the mean, median, and all that math stuff, mean, median, and mode and stuff, and like you could use the max and min to get part of that answer. But anyway. All right. What is the result of this code? Sum 11 and 22. So you're going to get 33. And then max get the absolute value of 30. So 30 is going to be the biggest. But then it's asking for the min. It's asking, so this one's 33, this one's 30. And then it gets the smallest one, which is the 30.
Okay, I'm not getting that.
Okay, I'll go through it again. Okay, so see how they're all in like parentheses and stuff? So like
Right.
it makes them like their own individual thing. So like the whole PEMDAS thing, do the parentheses first, right? So with this one, so first we get, so we do sum, right, to combine 11 and 22, and that gets 33, right? So the answer in these parentheses is 33.
Right.
And then there's a comma. So now it goes to this one, and it gets the absolute value of 30 of negative 30, which is 30, because it's just absolute value just gets rid of the negative. Basically, it's like however many from 0, right?
And maybe that's why I'm confused, because I saw the negative 30. I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The absolute value gets from however many from 0. So the answer would be 30, right? And then but it wants the max between 30 and 2. Well, 30 is going to be bigger than 2. So the answer in this one is going to be 33. The answer in this one is going to be 30. And so, but it wants the min, so it wants the smallest one. So that's where it gets 30. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, I think I just got confused because of the negative sign.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Hey, that one was missing a bracket.
What?
Wouldn't it have been an error? On the 2, look at the 2 comma bracket. Where's that bracket at? On the max side, absolute minus 30
In
to the
front of
comma
the
the
F.
2.
beginning. At the beginning right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the other brackets between 11 and 2. How that? All right, yeah. That's a
'cause
big formula.
these one have their own. So this one bracket ends here, and then these 2 brackets have their own. So it all balances out.
All right.
Brian, can you read this one?
List functions, often used in conditional statements. All and any take a list as an argument, and return true if all or any retrospectively of their argument's value to true and false otherwise. The function enumerate can be used to iterate through the values and indices of a list simultaneously. Run the code, see how it works.
Okay, so the all, it needs to have all of them true. So is I greater than 5 for I in, okay, so this is using the list thing we learned about yesterday, the list, I'm blanking on the name, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Something with a C, I think. And so it's going to create a list that way, right? And if it's true, then it prints all larger than 5. Well, all these numbers are larger than 5, so it's gonna be true, right? And then if I floor 2 equals 0 for I and nums. So if any of these are gonna be divisible by 2, then it's gonna print that, right? So that's gonna be correct as well. So that's why it prints that. Then for this one, enumerate nums, it's just going through all the different items, right? So you've got like 0 and then 55, the first one, and then 1, because it's like the same as if you were doing I equals 0. It's like if you were doing a while loop, right? And at the end, each one did like I plus equals 1. That's why like you see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like here, but then it's adding in the B. So just any questions on that? Okay, so go ahead and get started on the broken keyboard and raise your hand when you're done. Oh, and don't use the show answer. If you're confused and can't do it, just let me know after instead of using C answer.
I did it, but I'm not sure if mine is authentic to the way it is on the solution. I copied it from the replace, one of the tabs with the join and all that.
Uh-huh. Well, did your answer work?
Yes.
Well, if it worked, you're good to go. Okay. Let's see. Samantha, can you do share screen and share your answer?
Can you see it?
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
can you hear?
Yep.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I just put print parentheses text dot replace the hashtag for the space.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So moving on, what is the result of
You
this
skipped a
code?
step with the useful function, list function. What is the result of this code? Number -1, -2, -3, minus to the 4, -5.
Huh?
There's one more tab after that, useful function on the continue. Yeah. Okay.
This is the one I was on.
Oh, no kidding?
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
No worries. All right, so what is the result of this code? So if all are true, then print 1. Well, get the absolute value of I if it's greater than 3 for I and nums. Well, right away, 1 is less than 3, or sorry, if I is less than, okay, so yeah, we're good till we get to 4, but then 4 is not, so it's not going to be true, so it's going to print 2. Okay, so that is a good place to stop for today. So we will stop there and just work on, so go through and try and use all the things that we learned today, use them on your Visual Studio project, and like in the part where you can use Python. And if once you're done, if you get done with that before the hour's up, then just go ahead and work on your resume project.
What was that? Repeat that.
So go through everything we just went through today and like try everything out in Python, like test it, play around with it, and make sure you understand it. And then once you're done with that, then work on your resume project. All right, I'm gonna log out and log back in.